Well, we've heard an organisational perspective, and we've heard a local authority perspective, and we've heard a perspective from government. But this is a conference about human rights and being human, so really the most important thing is the difference it makes in the lives of people. So I'd like to introduce a colleague. I don't know where she is. Oh, there she is. Who is going to speak about, on behalf of one of the people Sea Change has the privilege to work for.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Audrey Crilly, and I'm one of the area leads for North Lanarkshire and Sea Change. I'm certain this picture was took long before I started working in this presentation and talking here today. Can I just thank everybody for being here this afternoon and listening to this presentation about one of the individuals that I have the pleasure of working for. Can I introduce to you? This was my worst nightmare. Oh. Can I introduce to you Mr. Kevin Queen? Kevin has kindly given me permission to talk to you today on his and his family's behalf regarding the time that Sea Change Scotland and I have worked for him. We've worked for Kevin for the past 4 years in support of his transition from assessment unit setting to his own home in Coatbridge. When undertaking Kevin's planning process, we related the panel principles of the Human Rights Agenda. This presentation will show you how the principles have been instrumental in Kevin's transition into his own home. This is something we recognise as essential in ensuring we are responding to the rights and wishes of all the people we work for. We see that everyone is born with and possesses the same rights, regardless of where they live, their gender, race, religious beliefs, or cultural or ethical background. Kevin is 39 years of age and lives in the Whifflet area of Coatbridge, though he originally came from Plains, right here in Audrey. Kevin has been diagnosed as having paranoid schizophrenia and has spent the past 20 years being supported by our health and social work colleagues. Kevin asked me today to thank everybody, and I'm sure there's people in the room that he's worked with, for all the help and support he's had in the past 20 years. This is Kevin's mum and dad. One of the reasons that Kevin was determined to settle into his own home was due to a promise that he made to his mum. It had been her wish to see him settled and living a good life, and her hope was for him to become part of the family unit again. Sadly, Kevin's mum passed away in May 2014 and his dad last year, but he knows she will be delighted with what he's achieved. Kevin is really, really close to his two brothers, but he didn't want to put their pictures up here today. So he's shown you a picture of his beautiful niece, who's his princess, and he's someone he wants determined to stay well for. A wee bit more about Kevin. Kevin attended St David's Primary in Plains and then St Margaret's High School in Audrey. While at school, Kevin was identified as a very gifted footballer. Being the captain of his school teams, he was very quickly picking up many awards and was soon being recognised by some of the big football clubs. He signed for Hearts when he was 16 and then for Celtic. He has also played for Scotland under-18s. Kevin has identified this time as being the beginning of many of the issues he's faced over the past 20 years. He recognised he was receiving a lot of money, and as a young 16-year-old, it resulted in him making some choices he now regrets. Kevin is very open and wants people to be aware of the impact of excessive alcohol, illegal drugs and gambling, as he feels this is what has had a major impact on his mental health. In December 2003, Kevin fell from a window, resulting in multiple injuries to his right hip and leg. Kevin and his family were told that it was unlikely he'd ever walk again. During his hospital stay, there was great concerns regarding the wound in Kevin's leg, as it wasn't healing. No one could understand why this was happening till the day a nurse saw his mum pouring holy water over it. Kevin tells me we'll never know whether it was the NHS or divine intervention that got him walking again. In 2010, Kevin was admitted to an NHS assessment unit. He spent 5 years in the assessment unit. This was to allow him the opportunity to spend time on getting well and to relearn how to support himself again. In June 2013, Kevin and I met. He had agreed to start the process of transitioning into his own home. Using the principles of the self-directed support, Kevin and I started to plan for the service that he was looking for. Kevin was clear that this would need to be done at his pace and that it may take a long time. We agreed to spend time together. The first evening we met lasted for 15 minutes, but we were soon visiting all the restaurants in Audrey and Coatbridge. And about 4 years ago, I rocked up to meet you.
Aye.
Aye.
I can remember Audrey coming to see me, but
I can remember when I came to meet you the very first night. I think we went for a cup of coffee and we maybe lasted about 20 minutes.
I couldn't handle it.
Because you were really quite worked up.
Aye.
And I remember you saying, and you were saying this will not happen really fast. No, we need to take it.
Slow progress.
How did we start spending time together then? Remember what we used to do?
Aye. We used to go out for supper eating that and
On the Wednesday night?
Aye. We used to go for supper eating that, down the Wicklet and that, aye.
Kevin was then introduced to the other Audrey Gardner. Audrey Gardner was Kevin's support advisor, and her role was to spend time with Kevin planning his service. Audrey and Kevin were able to work on the type of person he would want to work for him. They worked on the type of service he wanted and identified the purpose of his service. And he was really clear regarding the reasons sea change would be there and where his family place was in all the plans. During our time in planning, it was important that we ensured we related all decisions to the panel principles of the human rights agenda, these principles being participation. This is where Kevin was involved in the decisions that affected his rights. This was achieved through time spent with Audrey. Kevin was supported to all his reviews by his mum and then his aunts. It was important that he participated and was able to have his input into all the discussions. Accountability. This is when Kevin's rights were affected in any way. They were recognised and discussed by his multidisciplinary team. There was a responsibility on the team members to monitor that Kevin's rights were being met, as well as identifying remedies if things went wrong. Non-discrimination and equality. It was recognised that Kevin had the same rights as all other human beings and that he should not be discriminated against because of his mental health or addiction issues. Kevin had the same rights as everyone else to receive a bespoke service that met his needs regardless of past experiences. Empowerment. This is where Kevin was supported to understand his right to have the final say on the life he wanted, to lead on the service he received to enable him to do this. Legality. As Kevin was under the conditions of an NHS and Community Care Act 1990, which in the assessment unit we had to ensure that this did not have an impact on the outcome of his life in the community and how he was able to lead that life. During this time, I was invited to join Kevin's multidisciplinary team. Other agencies involved in the multidisciplinary team were colleagues from social work, health and housing. A housing complex near the unit in Coatbridge had been identified for Kevin to live when he moved out of the assessment unit. Though Kevin had initially agreed to looking at this complex, he'd expressed to me that he didn't think it would meet his needs, as it was a complex for older people and it was very small. Kevin was really clear with me he didn't want to live in an older person's complex. So, Obviously, there was a lot of time where you were getting used to the idea of getting your own house.
Aye. I went down there with Peter, and I said, Peter, I shall not go.
What was wrong, mate?
I'm claustrophobic.
Excuse me.
I need a bit of space.
So it's like wee elderly houses for elderly, and it's like sheltered housing.
They're too spaced in, Audrey. I couldn't live in there. I said to the doctor, she last year, I'd rather get a house round about Coatbrig, a bit of space and that about it. So I'll get claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic. Streamy's way I couldn't live down there.
And they were...
Debbie searched about the full of Coatbridge for me, and thankfully she got this a godsend. I seen it right away, Audrey, and I done it all up. Done the full house up.
You did? Okay.
Aye.
I was able to support Kevin back to his multidisciplinary team to let them know he didn't want to live in this complex. After lots of discussion, Kevin was supported to apply for a house in a wider radius of the Coatbridge area. Kevin was finding it difficult to tell the MDT when he was unhappy with some of the suggestions, so this was one of the main supports we were able to offer him. Kevin was really clear with me from the beginning regarding how he wanted his service to look. He didn't want anyone to have control over his money. He felt that not having control would have a negative effect on his mental health. He didn't want people coming into his house every day. He only wanted a service from us 2 or 3 times a week. And he did not want people to come into his house at 10 o'clock every night to administer his medication. It was explained to Kevin of his rights as an individual to receive the service that best suited his needs and wishes. We reflected on the human rights principle regarding participation and empowerment. It was important that Kevin's dignity was at the centre of any policy or decision made regarding how and when he was supported after leaving the assessment unit. There were a number of points raised by the MDT regarding their worries and concerns. One was regarding how Kevin was going to self-manage his money once he was in his own home. The other was that there could be a readmission to hospital if his medication was not managed properly. Kevin recognises that it's fair to say that these worries and concerns were legitimate based on his past experiences. But Kevin was really clear that he wanted an opportunity to show that he could live on his own and be responsible for his own life. Again, we reflected on the human rights principle of empowerment. By ensuring that Kevin was engaged in discussions centred around his human rights, he was empowered to know and understand his rights and participation in discussion around the complexities surrounding those rights. Kevin was empowered to use his experiences to influence the practice that would affect his life.
Pretty much I told her to turn over a new leaf. My mum died, stop drinking, stop gambling, just budget my money fine, do all my shopping, pay all my bills off, like my Virgin Media, my Scottish Power, my mobile phone, my television licence.
See, when we were doing all the planning work and we were working for you, you were still in the hospital, you got your house.
Aye.
No, everybody was helping you, like making the applications for your funds to get the house.
Aye.
There were a few things that were kind of stipulated, wasn't there? In your best interest, they definitely thought. What they were saying is that they felt that there needed to be somebody coming in every single night to see you taking your medication.
Aye.
They felt somebody had to be in every single day.
Aye.
To make sure, as far as they were concerned, that somebody was seeing you and
Aye.
that you were okay. And they wanted Sea Change to be your corporate appointee for your benefits and for the money from that to be paid into a Sea Change bank account.
Yeah.
Right. How did you feel about these things at the time?
Yeah, I didn't really want it, Audrey.
Kevin, see if Sea Change were holding your money
Aye.
in a Sea Change bank account, that you had to phone me up, or phone Bell up, or phone Audrey Gardner up and ask how much money was in there and if your bills were paid.
Aye.
How do you think that would make you feel?
That'd be terrible, Audrey. That'd set me back.
Kevin had raised concerns in regard to support. He felt that others were telling him when he needed to accept support, when to let people into his home, and he was not able to monitor and administer his own medication. Even though Kevin was a voluntary patient, He had been advised that he could leave the assessment unit any time he wanted to. Kevin didn't want to offend anyone and wanted everyone to sign off on his discharge, so he stayed until everyone was happy. Unfortunately, this took longer than any of us thought it would. At this time, we reflected on the proportionality principle when addressing the issue of concerns for the MDT. The following were asked: what was the problems with the restrictions in place in regard to Kevin's discharge from the assessment unit? Were the restrictions having an impact on Kevin? Was there a less restrictive alternative? Had sufficient time been given in regard to looking and listening to Kevin's rights and interests? And would the restrictions destroy the basic idea behind Kevin's human rights? Again, we reflected on the human rights agenda, in particular to Article 8, respect of private and family life. This meant that Kevin had the right to enjoy a peaceful home. It meant that public authorities could not stop him from entering or living in his home without very good reason, and that no one could enter without his permission. We reflected on a rights-based approach. As an organisation, we will always base our planning on a human rights-based approach. This meant for Kevin that his service was inherently person-centred, as we always put his views and his rights to choose control and autonomy at the centre of any decisions made. Furthermore, human rights provided a shared framework for professional and individuals using services, helping to resolve any tension in the way that services and care were being delivered. This allowed us to support Kevin to look at other options that would add support to the service that he required. So there was a point where your house was ready, it was decorated.
Aye.
Your money was sorted, you spoke to the benefits agency. The only issue that we seemed to have at that point in time was about this nighttime medication, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So initially, when we were ready and set up and ready to go, and you were actually living here during the day, weren't you? But you were going back to the hospital at night, for your 10 o'clock meds, having to stay there, and then coming back here the next morning. So that went on for a good wee while.
Overnight for a while,
what was happening at the time was, you were coming here, that you were going up to the hospital to collect your medication, weren't you? You were bringing it down and putting it into your safe, and then you were arranging it and sorting it for night time for what you were taking at night. And I remember you having a conversation with you saying, I mean, what if I go out and I've got a woman and I bring her home and a member of staff rocks in? You were really clear you didn't want that to happen. And what we were saying was that what we had viewed as an organisation was that there was no need for that, and actually we felt it would have an impact on you. That you weren't able to see what was going to happen and who could come into your house at night. You were really adamant, weren't you? You didn't want somebody coming in at 10 o'clock at night for your meds. You didn't need somebody doing it because you knew.
I knew my medication was too important, Audrey. I know my medication is so important. I take my medication every night for I left the hospital over the last 2.5 years. There's not been one issue with my support from Shaw Correct.
So, one of the options was Sol Connect. Staff from Sol Connect came and met with Kevin. They explained how their service worked and how it could meet his needs. The service offered Kevin the opportunity for support around the administration of his medication. Therefore, it could be viewed when Kevin was taking it through a hub in his home. At this time, as this had been one of the concerns raised by his MDT, Kevin was able to reassure them while ensuring was able to reassure them a physical presence was not needed in his home in the evening, and that he could monitor and take his medication on his own. So, having that in place now, what did that mean then? It meant that
That meant that I didn't need to get anybody come in and supervise my medication at night. There was no an issue that way.
Your remote support call request has been sent and is in a queue.
Eleanor!
Hi Kevin, how you pal?
I'm not bad, Eleanor, how are you?
I'm alright, what you been up to
I've
today?
not spoken to you in a couple of weeks, you've been off?
I know, I was off last week.
Aye,
I know, see, missed me Sunday, missed me Kevin.
aye, Eleanor, aye.
That's good. Well listen, I'll let you go and go to your day. And
No problem, Eleanor.
you're over here if you need us for anything.
Aye.
Guys, I'll speak to you tonight.
Aye, we'll see you tonight then, Eleanor.
Right. See you later, Kevin.
Bye.
Bye. Sleep.
So with all these things in place, Kevin was able to move into his home. This is Kevin, pride of place in front of his flat in Coatbridge. Now we'll have the last word from Kevin.
So what's your plans for the future?
My plans for the future is hopefully get that better, meet my girlfriend.
Thank you very much.